Hello you guys, I'm back with another video. I'm in my kitchen. I'm gonna try to make this not too long. I know I'll be saying that, but I wanna make me some food. So um my last video was like Saturday, I think. And so, I was going through my spiritual warfare. But yeah, coming out on the other side of it, got more wisdom and knowledge and understanding and just like close relationship with the Lord and more peace and all these good things. So what I'm gonna be talking about is I wrote down my notes on here. So God was showing me that Satan can't succeed in tempting me because I'm choosing to willingly suffer. And then in parentheses I wrote carrying my cross, which is grief, pain, and then out of parentheses. So then I wrote sin is an escape from the burden of having to carry my cross. And then I wrote in parentheses, feeding the flesh / doing what I want to do, which will never satisfy. Then I wrote by carrying my cross and choosing to walk in the Spirit wherever He leads, which is to the death of self, I'm able to resist temptation, my own lusts. And in parentheses, I wrote emotional eating, doom scrolling, bed rotting, not wanting to deal with the pain, etc. And I'll be satisfied by pleasing Him. So this is what God been showing me, right? Just the fact that I was, well, of course, dealing with grief and all that stuff is like a real human emotion and everything. But excuse my tire, I just did a bunch of chores and I'm in my pajamas. So anyway, but I wanted to get on here and make a video though, because I don't know if I will tomorrow. I'm gonna be at church probably all day. But so God was showing me Satan can't succeed in tempting me, right? Because what Satan wants you to do is be tempted in the flesh. He wants to tempt you in the flesh, and he wants you to feed the flesh, give in to the temptations, and you're drawn away by your own lust, like it's saying in the Bible. And like he said, let no man say that when he's tempted of God, because God tempts no man. But every man is tempted when he's drawn away by his own lust. And I can't really remember the rest of the verse. God just gave me that right there. But basically, so like for me, I was saying, I have my own lust for the situation that I'm in, right? Which is not wanting to carry my cross because, it's like Satan was trying to make me feel like a victim and stuff. And oh, it's not fair, it's too hard. This is, hard to deal with. Why am I going through this? And all these type of things. And God was just showing me that, well, he spoke to me through somebody else, but he has said 3 things that stood out to me. And it was one, he was saying how his cousin had died and how God was showing him what path not to take after his cousin died. He said God was showing him what not to do, basically walking in the same footsteps. And that stood out to me because I was like, how, say you grow up in a traumatic household and you're like, I'm not going to be like this parent, or I'm not going to do whatever they did. I'm going to be better and I'm going to have kids and I'm going to treat them better than I was treated. But then you get older and you be realizing man, I'm doing the same things they did. And it's I think, what's that man's name? Robert T. Kiyosaki, that dude who wrote what's that book? Well, the one I got now, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah. I think he said that. He was like, the subconscious mind is, how people stay rich. So say somebody's kids lose their money, they know how to get it back because they grew up in a household with their parents knew how to get money and they learned all these different things. So they're acclimated to that and how to get it back because it's programmed in their brain. Versus, say, poor person, they get money and they just blow it, even though they want to sit up here and become rich, but they don't know how to do those things because they're just acclimated to being, moving like a poor person's mentality or whatever. But yeah, so God was showing me, like, I was doing these things, and I'll be like, bro, when my mom was going through things, she would always be like, look, she want to get a snack or something. And then when my mom was like, really had high stress, she would like lash out, or like, eventually she had like a long fuse, she would always say, and she would like blow up eventually when everything was just like too much. And just other habits, right? And she would always be on her phone a lot. And I was like, bro, I'll be doing those things and other things she's done. And I'm like, man, it's not good. And so God was just showing me this. And I forgot where I was going. But anyway, like my own lust is, was trying to, just think like, why is this happening? Like, this is a lot to deal with. Oh yeah, that's what I was going at. What that guy was saying, like, what not to do. He was saying like what not to do when he saw his cousin died. And his cousin died, and he's really big on health and all that. And so I'm big on health too. And when my mom, she had died. And so I was like, man, that's so true, because I'm making a lot of decisions like how my mom did that were not really good. And I was like, I don't want to go down that path and end up in the same predicament she ended up in, with her health issues, and, ended up passing away and stuff. And he was just saying how, like, even in bad situation, even when he crying, he looked for the good in the situation and the joy, and he still has joy and stuff. And I was like, man, that's, it was had me thinking. And I was really like, this was at Bible study, and I was like not in the mood. My phone was tripping. I couldn't use my phone for like 2 hours, and I couldn't do nothing on my phone. And I was irritated, and then I was stuck in traffic, and it was just one thing happened after another. Like them videos when people be walking, and then they're like, when you have a bad day, and then your like coat gets stuck on the door handle or something. It was like one of them days, and I was like, bro. But then he said that about his cousin. They said another thing about how God was showing him, like, how it's selfish to be like, oh, why is this person not here? If this person was here, maybe I could have did this. Or if this person had passed away, things would be better, and maybe I could have did something different, and they would still be here. And it's like, that's selfish, for us to think like that, because it's God's will. And that's basically what he was saying. And I was like, man, that was hit me too. And so I was like, well, that is true, I had to think on that one. And then he said, the last one thing he said that really like resonated with me too was like, he was saying people, indulge in like alcohol, weed, or cigarettes, eating a lot of different things that are not good for them because they can't deal with the pain, and they're trying to find an escape. And I was like, bro, I was like, that's so true. That was me, at least with the eating part. And I was like, man, yeah, that was literally crazy, because that's what I need to hear. And so I was thinking about all these things. I was like, thank you, Lord, for, talking through this, man. And it was everything I need to hear. And so that helped me put a lot of things into perspective and stuff. And like I wrote down here, by choosing to willingly suffer, like how Jesus did, carrying my cross, and like just bearing the fact that, it is hard, and, grieving and all these things, it is hard and it is tough, but not trying to like put my cross onto somebody else, or So basically, just by willingly choosing to deal with it, it like with Jesus, he was saying how if the cup could pass from him, you know, that, he wanted that to happen. But he said, nah, his will, God's will. And so he willingly chose to, carry that cross and literally carry this cross. And by doing that, he didn't give into the temptation of Satan was probably there like, oh, this is too much for you. You can't do this. And, you shouldn't do this for these humans. They're selfish and stuff. But just trying to have him have self-preservation. But by Jesus always focusing on what his Father wanted him to, he was able to, disregard self-preservation and just focus, which is really selfishness, and just focus on what his Father wanted him to do, which was him being selfless and sacrificing himself for everyone. And that's what it was, I was thinking about that. And so for me, willingly carrying my cross and, the grief and the pain and all that is easier. At times, it'll be hard because Satan want to come at you and say all these stupid things and try to tempt you and get in your head and all this stupid stuff. But, God give you grace to overcome. He give you undeserved favor and he'll, give you strength to carry on and stuff like that. Like Paul was saying, he rather relish in his weaknesses, so the power of Christ will rest upon him. And that's what it's been for me too. Because if it wasn't for the Lord, I would probably be somewhere I shouldn't be. I'll just say that. But yeah, so willingly choosing to suffer is what we need to be doing. And it's not something we want to do. It's like, bro, I don't want to go through this. This sucks. This hurts. But it's all part of God's plan, and it's bigger than us as well. Like with Joseph, I really love Joseph. He my top 10 favorite people in the Bible. But like with Joseph, he went through all those things, and could you imagine your own siblings hating you and throwing you in a pit, and it's throwing you in a pit and it's selling you, but throwing you in a pit, hitting the floor, bro, that hurts as well as the emotional pain. And then you let off into slavery, you're by yourself, you don't know anybody, you're alone, and you're in another land with people who don't serve your God anymore, do their own thing, and it's just you and the Lord. And that's what God wanted it to be, to help him really just be closer to the Lord and relying on him throughout all his trials and all his tests, like with Pharaoh's wife trying to sleep with him and stuff, and then him being in prison, and that he was told that one dude, he's like, yo, remember me, when you go back out there. And the dude forgot, and he was still in prison, and then 2 years later or so he remembered him. And so Joseph was sitting up in prison all that time by himself, or maybe other people's in there with him, but it's crazy to actually have to do that. And so he did all those things, and then I love when he was saying how Jesus, what he said, he said God is the one going to be interpreting the dream, not me. And he is so humble. After all that stuff, he could have pride. He could be like, man, why is this happening to me? But I think it's also crazy. Now I don't think about it. It's he had some type of pride when he was, he probably was not even working for real. His brothers was in the field working for real, and he was out there with his, lavish coat. And he's like, oh yeah, I had a dream, and this was my dream, so all y'all was bound down to me. And his brothers was like, bro, be for real. All his brothers out there working their hands to the bone, and he over here talking about something. Yeah, so that's what I dreamed about. Y'all was all bowing down to me. Like, you know how it made them feel? And it said how they made them feel, envious, and they were jealous. And I think they said they hated him or whatever, but yeah. And I'm like, bro, he's so green. Because, like, why would you say that to them, to anyone in general? And he did it twice. And so he had a little bit of pride, but during the whole thing, it, like, was breaking him down, because it was, like, breaking down his, like, pride and, like, I guess arrogance and whatever, to the point where it's like, Lord, I don't know what's going on. I just relying on you. Show me the way. And, please help me get through this. Help me get out of this situation. And that is what God wanted, because he knew what God was going. He knew what he was going to give Joseph. And he didn't want Joseph. He didn't want the things that he gave Joseph to, like, consume him, basically, being right under Pharaoh and having all that power and stuff. He didn't want it to consume him. And also being around those people serving other gods, not the true God, that could have led him away too. And the women and all type of stuff and the money. But I love what he was saying also. He was like, he finally talked to his brothers, and he revealed himself to them. And he was like, don't be sad or feel bad that you guys sent me here, because you didn't send me here. God sent me to save you, to save everyone from the famine. And I was like, oh, it's such a beautiful story. But it's crazy, because that's literally what it is, Same thing with Job. But, God put you through all these things, and it's like, man, this sucks when you're in it. But it's like, on the other side, you get more blessings, because, the trying of your faith works patience. And so, with that happening, it just all has you to be, consecrated, and having God be your whole world and, like, your center of your life, and not anything else, and not allowing yourself to be consumed with anything besides him. So then when he gives you all these blessings, it doesn't, like, make you be like, oh, I like this more than God now, and you forget about God. And so, yeah, that's just what I was learning with that. But with sin, what I wrote on here, sin is an escape from the burden of having to carry your cross. And that's what it is, Like, when I was in the world, I didn't know about what I know now, of course, with carrying your cross and all these things, and, like, the spiritual side and the significance of all of it. But when I was in the world, I had a lot of trauma, right? And so that made me, want to suppress my emotions and, like, just smoke all the time. And ooh, my hand's ashy, don't mind that. I want to smoke all the time and all this stuff, and just do stuff I shouldn't be doing to, like, suppress the pain and everything instead of facing it. And so that was, me living in sin. But on this side, walking with the Lord, it was also me willingly sinning, because it was me trying to escape the burden of having to carry my cross, which is like, just dealing with the reality of my life and situation. I'm not trying to escape from it, because that's always what I would do when I was in the world. I would escape from reality, because I was like, I didn't want to think about it, I didn't want to deal with it, and it was a lot, to think about. So I was just like, I'm gonna just go smoke, I'm gonna just go, fornicate with my boyfriend at the time, and all these stupid things. And so all it does is, like, it feeds the flesh, because the flesh wants to be satisfied, but it's never satisfied. if the flesh wants to feel pleasure, and it just wants to be in control, literally. But when you don't give in to the flesh, and you surrender to the Spirit, because the flesh lusteth against the Spirit, and Spirit against the flesh. And I think it says these things are contrary-wise to each other, so that you can't do what you want to do, something like that. But yeah, so when you surrender to the Spirit, which is, just surrendering to God's will for your life, that will cause you to not give in to, trying to satisfy the flesh and give in to temptation, because you're like, you know what, I'm not finna sit up here and do this, because for one, it's making me feel worse, and this flesh getting more control, and it's like, oh, this snack wasn't enough. This snack wasn't enough. I want more snacks. I want more junk food. I want more time on, TikTok, scrolling and doing whatever. I want more. Versus you allowing, you cry out to the Lord. Like, that's what I did. You cry out to the Lord, and you open up to Him, tell Him how you're feeling and stuff, and you just let Him help you, and you let Him, take control, and you just like, Lord, I can't do this. I need help, and all these things, and He'll help you, And so you do that. Then, like I wrote on here, you choosing to walk in the Spirit wherever He leads, and it's leading you to the depth of yourself, and that's another thing itself. The fact that you are wanting to, like for me, the fact that I was wanting to, emotional ease and all this stuff was me feeding myself, feeding what I wanted, feeding how I felt and all these things, which we're not to do, because we're supposed to deny ourselves and die daily and just live our life for the Lord, and not try to be like, I don't want to do that, I want to do this, and I don't feel like this, and da-da-da. So by doing that, you just, you're like, I pick up my cross, whatever that is for you. Maybe that's like, maybe your cross is maybe your cross is like you grew up with rejection, like that's what I had too. Maybe your cross is you were, abused. Maybe your cross is you grew up in poverty. Maybe that's your cross. So I don't know, whatever it is for you, whatever it is that, I'll say your cross is like with Jesus, it wasn't what He deserved, but it's what God wanted for His life, to fulfill His plan. And yeah, so dang, I forgot where I was going. But yeah, it all leads you to the death of self, and by you dying to yourself, and you just cry out to the Lord, and He gives you the grace and strength to keep going, and you don't allow Satan to make you stay in this trial, stay in this situation, and stay in this just state that you're in, because maybe this time this particular trial is really hard, and you're like, man, I want to stop, I want to give up, or I want to go, I'm thinking about going back to the world, this is a lot, I don't want to deal with all this stuff. But by tell God all these things, and He'll give you strength to keep going. And when you do that, you're able to resist temptation, which is your own lust. And we all have our own lusts. So say, I don't know what y'all's is, but for me, Mine's, like I wrote on here, emotional. It was emotional eating, doom scrolling, a little somewhat bed rotting, not wanting to deal with pain, etc. And also my own lust. Well, a lot less than before when I was in the world, but since I'm closer to God, it don't really be like that for real. But when I was in the world, it was like rejection, so that was making me want to be accepted by, like, you know, making me want to be accepted. And so that was just one thing. And yeah, we all have our own lust, so just think about wherever that is. That's how Satan gonna, tempt you and lead you into trying to fulfill that lust. But yeah, so by just surrendering to what God wants you to do, you resist it. You resist. You just like, Satan's like, oh man, this is a lot for you. You should go eat you some junk food. You should go just go watch a bunch of TV or something. You deserve it. You should go I don't know. Those 2 examples is enough. But he'll tell you whatever it is you want to hear, and it's basically just pain, not saying it out loud, but it's like, oh, you're a victim. You deserve to do this. What you're going through isn't fair. So you deserve to go do whatever it is whatever it is he tells you. But just by resisting, like I'm saying, resisting whatever he's saying, and being like, no, I'm gonna carry my cross. It is hard at times, but God's gonna help me get through it. And this is what God wants me to do, and he trusts me with this pain, and this is a lesson in this, and I'll be able to witness to others about what I'm going through and dealing with. And yeah, so that is pretty much what I wanted to say. So by choosing to walk in the Spirit wherever he leads and carrying your cross, you're able to resist temptation, which I'll put in like little whatever, my own lusts, and be satisfied by pleasing him. So that is how we will be satisfied, by pleasing him and staying in his will and doing what he wants us to do. We'll never be satisfied by doing what we want to do and by giving into our lusts and temptations and all these things, because flesh is never satisfied. It just wants to get more and more control, and it'll be out of control, and then your spirit is going to be out here, and your soul going to be out here miserable. So versus the other way, like I said, it'll be hard, carrying your cross at times, and you get weak, but that's when Christ's strength rests upon you. So he carry you through. He'll give you more strength. He'll give you more grace. And yeah. So yeah, whatever it is you're dealing with, just like for me, what I did, just go to the Lord, pray about it, and if you're mad, tell him. If you're sad, you want to cry, do whatever it is you gotta do, but just go to the Lord, and he'll help you get through whatever it is you're going through. And it's all part of the plan, and just remember, like Joseph and Job's story, because you're not going to suffer forever. And like Jesus, he's on the right hand of God because of what he did. So there's always a better outcome at the end of everything you're dealing with. But yeah, so this video is longer than I said it would be, but I'm done now. And I hope the video helps whoever watches, and thank you for watching. Put be blessed in the comments if you watch this far. Well, don't put be blessed, put blessed with prayer hand emojis if you watch this far. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and I will see you soon. Take care.